Welcome to Critical Blues Reviews. I'm your host, Critical, and it's good to have you all here. We still trying to pump everything on out. I'm still trying to pump everything on out. And shout out to my special guests that come through and assist and help me out. You know what I'm saying? Today or tonight, I'll be doing things a little solo dolo. You know what I mean? And yo, check out my shirt. I've been redeemed. You know what I'm saying? So what that means to me is I'm compensating for the faults or bad aspects of what I've done. And you definitely can find shirts like this at the Victory Swag. That's where I got the shirt from. The Victory Swag apparel. And they have some, dope slogans, very positive messaging for everyone. Definitely check it out. Some may feel this religion based. It is religion based, but it's good positive messaging. And I'm definitely gonna need this shirt. What I'm about to review tonight. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and get things started. I've been waiting for this one. I'm gonna get more into it because I have some gripes about certain things. Let's go ahead and do it. All right. So tonight we're going to be reviewing Hellraiser. Yes, use my Hellraiser voice. So this is going to be very interesting. The director for this film is David Buckner. He directed Southbound, The Ritual, and Signal. Now, I've seen all three movies. Southbound was definitely interesting. I enjoyed Southbound. It's an anthology type of film, so definitely check that out. I believe you might be able to find it on Shudder TV. Yeah, I think I watched it on Shudder. It was either Amazon Prime or Shudder TV. That was pretty good. You also have The Ritual. You can find that on Netflix. And one thing I noticed about David Bruckner, his style, he does a lot of set changing, where I like for example, on The Ritual, you're in the grocery store. The person might be leaving the store and it's supposed to be a parking lot, but all of a sudden they're in the middle of the woods. You know what I'm saying? He's good at doing that, where it's like two different sets that have nothing to do with one another or join it. And he did a great job, and it transitioned well in this film, Hellraiser, that style that he has. Signal, that was dope. I definitely like Signal. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Signal was done here in Atlanta. Yeah, I want to say Signal was done in Atlanta, so that's real close to home. So that's what's up on that. I think the director is from Atlanta. Yeah, David Bruckner, he's from Atlanta. He went to the University of Georgia, or is it Georgia State University? I think University of Georgia. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, check out his other work. I really enjoyed his other work. I thought it was pretty cool. And also, the writers for this film, you have Ben Collins. You might have seen his work in The Night House. And also you have Luke Piotrowski. He also worked on The Night House. Now, the logline for this film. A stubborn young woman struggling with drug addiction confiscates a deadly mystical box, putting her family and friends in hell's way. Now, the characters for this film. You have Riley, played by Odessa Azion, and you might have seen her work in The Inhabitant. You have the priest, better known as Pinhead, played by Jamie Clayton, and you might have seen her work in The L Word, Generation Q. You have Colin, played by Adam Faison. You might have seen his work in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You also have Trevor, played by Drew Starsky. You might have seen him in The Hate U Give. You have Vought, played by Goran Visnijic. You might have seen him in The Girl Dragon Tattoo. And now, for those who are not familiar with Hellraiser, I'm not a Hellraiser connoisseur. Let me take a drink of the Nika. I can't tell you everything. I don't know the lore, the whole lore of Hellraiser, but it's intriguing. The thing that has me intrigued with Hellraiser is the world building. I watched the first one, the second one back to back, and the first one my bones were aching. You know, the part with the muscle, you know, like just like little stuff, not really the chains and all of that stuff, just the part where just the people are walking around with their meat out. Pause. You know what I'm saying? They got their muscles and tendons out, and they just walking around. You know, like by her putting on the, or him putting on like the white suit. I think on part two she had on the white suit. I just felt pain, like take the clothes off. You know what I'm saying? But part two is my favorite Hellraiser film. Reason why is just the world building. We get to experience the Lazarus. Now, in Hellraiser, I think hell is represented in Hellraiser. You know what I'm saying? But in this film, I believe this is just another dimension. It's a dimension where, so I believe that the beings from this other dimension are masochists. You know what I mean? And like hardcore. I mean, like straight to the bone. No pun intended. Hardcore masochists. And I think and I believe they work as customer service, because they really believe in customer service work. Like they really, like, you know, like for example, I worked in Macy's, right? And I don't know if anybody else worked in customer service, but when you like help out a guest or a customer, and your opinion that you really was proud of the outfit that you put together for the customer or whatever the case may be, and they take it home. So let's say, you know, you put, you know, the outfit together, and they're like, you know, I hope my son really likes this. And he's like, yeah, he's gonna love this. And they take it away, and Christmas happens, and they come back with like, oh, you didn't like it. And you're like, he didn't like it? You know what I'm saying? And this that's kind of like how, you know, that's how Pinhead was in this. You know what I'm saying? You don't like my gifts? You know what I'm saying? Put the hand on the chest. You know, that's how Pinhead was. But yeah, they're like customer service agents. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna get into that a little later. The original, it's about a box, and these chains. Once you configure the box, chains will come out and basically yank your soul, your flesh and soul, into the box or into that version of hell, and you're being judged by a group called the Cenobites. That's the masochists that love pain. They just love pain so much. You can see the body horror, or the stuff that how they mutilated their own bodies and stuff like that. You can totally see it, and they judge you. And then after that, the originals, they're kind of like into watching you scream. This one, it's almost like they're trying to get you to enjoy it. It's like, you know, like you're gonna feel so much pain, but you know, like you're gonna enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Like we enjoyed the pain. Look at us, because their outfits are totally different. Like the other ones were dressed like, the other Cenobites were dressed like the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? How the Undertaker dress. I'm pretty sure Undertaker got his outfit from the Cenobites. You know what I'm saying? The leather dress type of theme that he's worn to the ring before. I'm pretty much sure when Hellraiser 1 was out, like the Undertaker was Mean Mark Allen. You know what I'm saying? Those for the wrestling fans. So the outfit's different, and the outfit as we see in and this film, it's their skin. Like their skin is mutilated. You know what I'm saying? Like their skin is, you know, even the growing areas. Like, you know, like can you imagine like witnessing your meat being mutilated off or chopped off, or, you know, whatever you may have under there. You know what I'm saying? All of that just being butchered. It's a rough one. You know what I'm saying? It's a rough watch. This version wasn't all that bad though. You know what I'm saying? But it's, if you're not used to Hellraiser, it could be much. It could be a lot. So let's go ahead and get into my dislikes. So I dislike the fact that they said this film was going to be a series, and I always felt that the 80s and 90s horror, like the horror films that really kicked off and were just on point and made a lot of money for the company. I feel like they shouldn't just remake movies. I feel like they should just do what they did with Chucky, turn it into a series. And I always thought about that even before Chucky ever came out. When I heard that Hellraiser was doing the series, I was like, oh, I'm all for it. And I'm excited to see this series. And then I'm like watching, like, that's why it took me a while to even find Hellraiser, because I'm looking up TV shows. And it's none of the TV shows. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh man, this kind of sucks. Like, I thought it was a damn series. Like, I really wanted to, learn about the characters. And that's the other thing too. I wanted them to kind of get us to appreciate the characters. Kind of like how we did Nancy. Now, I understand that Nightmare on Elm Street was a movie, and Nancy was so hardcore in the first one that she was a great character that we appreciated and, can't say we followed, but when part 3 came out, when she came back into the picture, it's like, yo, it's Nancy, it's the OG. Everything is going to be okay. And then they took Nancy out. Spoiler alert, excuse me, don't sue me. Yeah, it was kind of like, damn, man, they killed Nancy. Fuck. Like, Nancy's still alive, right? Because their eyes was fluttering. I think she couldn't. I was seeing her blinking. I always saw that as a kid. Like, damn, I thought she was alive. Like, she's still alive. But Nancy was, she's dead. I'm dead, y'all. Her eyes fluttering. But yeah, man, I felt like, if you do a series and we get to learn the characters and you have subplots and, all types of other, sub stories and things like that keeps us interested. And then you bring in the antagonist, which is the killer or the horror character. I was like, yo, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? I would really enjoy this series. But they didn't do that. It is what it is. But I was really, really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. Pinhead kind of stopped using chains at a certain point. I know there was a certain point where she wasn't allowed to use chains, but there were other parts of the film where she could have used chains and she didn't. So I don't know what that was about. The twist was a little weak. It was a little weak. Horror films have more twists and more surprises, the good ones. And this one was so straightforward. It was straightforward, just like the older horror films. No twists or anything. But then it was like, we need to wow the people. So they ended up making a twist. They put a little twist on it and shit like that. You know what I mean? The acting was a little so-so. A lot of times you had Riley. She would be crying and she would be like, oh, I didn't know. And you could tell that, I can hear it in her voice that she wasn't really feeling it. You know what I mean? She wasn't really crying. You know what I'm saying? You could hear it. It was like, But at times, let's go ahead and get into the likes. But there were times where it was just good acting. It was like one character, like, all right, a dislike. It was one character. He's in this rich ass house, right? And like a party or whatever the case may be, a bunch of rich people. They dress fancy. They got in their best, right? They're rich people best. You know what I mean? But yeah, he comes into this party and it's like he has on no sleeves, a sleeveless shirt. And it's like, how did he end up here? Who is this guy? Like, he just didn't come in for a damn drink. It's a private party. We don't know if anybody sent for him. We don't, you know what I mean? It was like he was familiar with the owner of the house. That part was very strange to me, or it was missing something. You know what I mean? The guy that was at the party, because it was like, it almost felt like he wasn't invited. He just kind of came on his own, but he wasn't dressed like everyone else. Everybody else, like I said, had on their best attire. They tuxes and stuff like that, their best outfits. But yeah, he just came with a sleeveless shirt on and, was interested on the owner of the house as if he was familiar with his work or something like that. That part was very strange to me. I didn't get that part. So that was a dislike. But that actor, when the actor got to screaming though, that was a like. Because he acted his ass off. I was like, holy shit. Like, this dude here is really acting. He is acting. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely, give them props on that. Most of the like horror scenes of the actors going through what they went through, the characters, they played that out. Yeah, they did that. They did their thing on that. I can't hold them on that. There was a scene with Riley and her brother, and that's where the chains came into effect, and it looked cool. That was a cool scene. I really did like that scene. I like the fact that hell comes to you after the jab. You know what I'm saying? The box is different from the previous box in the other Hellraiser films. Like the box that you configure and all of that stuff, like in a Rubik's Cube. The original had chains that came out, and it made Pinhead be the leader. I mean, of course, he was the leader of the Cenobites. The box was its own entity. The box is the reason why Pinhead is the way he is, and or the priest, however you want to put it, or priestess. But in this one, the box does its own thing. I like the fact that it's like a snake, and when the rat or the mouse is around the snake will bite it, and then it'll get woozy. It's hard for them to really escape. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was pretty cool. The box, as we saw in the trailer, it accepts blood. For it to activate, it needs blood, and I thought that was pretty cool. I like the brother-sister drug. There might be, I wasn't born with that at all, but it might be some people that might have found that scene boring. I didn't have a problem with it whatsoever. What's your pleasure? I like they brought that back. They brought back that Easter egg. That was pretty cool. I wish they brought back the dude, because I always wanted to know about that dude that it was like, yo, what's your pleasure in the other Hellraiser films? Like, who was that guy? What was his purpose? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what got me. Like, is he the gatekeeper? Like, what was he? But they brought that saying back. I thought that was pretty cool. The van scene was pretty cool. I did like the van scene. The throat scene, that was pretty cool, where the person was screaming and you could see in their throat, you could see the vibration in their throat of the sound. But then when they would yell out that sound that we saw the vibration in their throat, it was a different sound from what was happening to that person. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was pretty cool. Pinhead was a woman. Pinhead a woman. I think that's cool. I mean, it's a little deeper than that. Pinhead is actually, the actress that's playing Pinhead is a transgender woman. And so, but shout out to Dave P. Cope. He told me, he said when he read the novella, because everything started from the novella, and when he read the novella, the Pinhead was hinted at being a woman. You know what I'm saying? It was, but you didn't really know for a fact when you're reading it. And I think in this situation, it definitely fits. Pinhead, rather, looks like a woman to me in this film. Like in other films, of course, it looks like a dude, but in this film, it had features of a woman. And it was cool. The other Cenobites, I think they came from other victims, if I'm not mistaken, but we don't really know. You know what I'm saying? I think in the original, once you get taken by the box, or the Cenobites come to get you, you don't necessarily become a Cenobite. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if the others became Cenobites or not. I'm not sure. The other deaths, that was the confusing part. I'm looking and I'm like, are they the people that died? Are they the Cenobites now? Like, I'm trying to like see, get a better understanding, but I don't know. I couldn't figure that out. Of course, the epic music theme, I thought that was pretty good. It took, a lot of the themes from the original Hellraiser, they brought back. I thought that was pretty cool. The evil customer service, like the evil customer service, that was interesting. I mean, it was just funny, like certain parts, without trying to give too much away. Like, for example, if you were working in a store and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I want my money back, and it's like, yo, do you have a receipt? No, I don't have a receipt. Well, we can only exchange. No, I think if you have the receipt, and after a certain number of days, that's the only time you can make an exchange. You can't get your money back. So it's like, yo, it's past the 60-day mark. You know what I'm saying? Or the 30-day mark, however many days it is. So so we can make an exchange. And that's how the Cenobites was. That's how the priest was. She was like, you didn't like your gift? Yeah, hell no, I didn't like my gift. I want to turn this tie back in. Well, I'm sorry, you can only get something at equal value or more. You know what I'm saying? Theirs was a bargain, but you don't want their bargain. I want to exchange, something for a tie. And it's like, nah, you can't get a tie back, but you can get a shirt. You know what I'm saying? Or some jeans or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's basically they up the value of what you're turning back. And, if you're in a store, you know what I mean? That's a great deal, a wonderful deal. But yeah, you fucking with Cenobites, so you're not gonna want that deal. It's like, nah, I'm straight. Nah, I don't want anything. I'm good. You don't want anything? You know what I'm saying? They put their hand on the chest with that. My comparisons. I compare this film to The Void, even though The Void, I believe, strongly got their ideas from Hellraiser, and also Event Horizon. There was some Event Horizon scenes. I mean, Event Horizon basically was the better Hellraiser space movie. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we had Hellraiser in space, and it was just like, that's like the last Hellraiser movie I saw, so I can't watch anymore after this. Even though I watched the last Hellraiser movie, I'm just going to call it Hellraiser in Space, Hellraiser 4. I watched it in the movie theater, and then I tried to watch it again because I forgot. It's almost like somebody put a magic spell on me, and I couldn't remember anything about the movie. I just remember the guy that was making the toy. You know what I mean? And then I watched it again, fell asleep on it a few times. So I watched it at total like maybe 6-7 times. And I still can't fully remember the movie. That's not good. You know what I mean? So that's the last time I watched Hellraiser. That's my last Hellraiser movie. There were some things I did pick up from the film. I guess like the configuration. We were talking about the box. So it goes through like different steps. So I mean, listen, if you consider this spoiler, you know what I'm saying, you might want to fast forward. But it's basically, I'm just going through the different steps of the box because it was very intriguing. This movie is very intriguing to me. It's like the only horror movie where I'm intrigued to know more about the lore. You know what I'm saying? Or the world building. You know what I mean? I really wish this film was a series, so I'll learn more about the world building of this, of this story. But one of the configurations, you had Lament, which represented life, and then you had the lore, knowledge, then you had Ladorant, and then love, then liminal, and then sensation. Then that I guess equals sensation or whatever. And then you had the Lazarus that represents resurrection. Then you had Leviathan. And I think Leviathan is the one that has the double point, and then that equals power. So like that's I felt like that was pretty interesting. The different steps. I really thought that was cool. I would say that's a like in my book. The different stages of the box. Like they did kind of have certain stages. I think they only had 2 stages in the previous movies, if I'm not mistaken. The box, and then you had I believe it was the Leviathan stage. I did have some questions, you know what I'm saying, for you. I would like for you to place your answers down below. You feel me? So I did have some questions. Like, my thing is, in the sequel, will Matt want vengeance against his sister? That's not telling you a lot for those who didn't see it. If you didn't see it, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But for those who did, will Matt want vengeance against his sister? And to my audience, would you go back if you did something by you being an asshole and by you not listening, being stubborn, you put your family, a close relative, in a situation, and this situation basically, let's say, has something to deal with their soul being stolen, right? Not giving anything away, just their soul being stolen. You know, would you have them come back? Now they're a little different. Like you met them, they're a little colder. They're not themselves. They're not as, you know, like they're emotional about certain things. But then, you know, they're not so emotional. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of like cold. They're kind of just numb and just kind of like, hey, I'm ready to come back. You know, before they'll be like, I'm ready to come back. You know, now they're just, I'm ready to come back. You know what I'm saying? Just like, would you bring them back? Would you have them resurrected if you had the power to, or the know-how? If you had the know-how to bring and resurrect your relative, would you bring your relative back? Even though they're acting weird as shit, would you bring them back? And it's all your fault now. Leave that below. Leave that below right now. Pause this and write down below what you feel. Yes or no? Would you bring your relative back and it's your fault that their soul got stolen? Or they died. However you want to put it. You know what I'm saying? And it's all your fault. Would you bring them back? Pause it and leave below. But I've been redeemed though. I'm gonna be redeemed after I do this doggone podcast. That's why I wore this shirt. The shirt is for protection. Just doing Hellraiser reviews. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing too. This film was pretty gay film. I didn't know Hellraiser was a gay series. I never knew that Hellraiser was a gay series. Yeah, my homeboy Vic was like, yo, this, you know, like the Hellraiser series is, you know, the character seems androgynous with the story. You know, I never knew. Hell, the gayest horror movie I saw was Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Because I always wondered, why is this dude screaming so goddamn much? Like, god damn, dude, like, shit, grow some goddamn balls. God damn, I get it. It's fucking Freddy. You know what I'm saying? But shit, man, you scream worse than fucking Nancy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, heads up. There are some gay scenes in this film. There's some men's faces laying on other men's chests in this film. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, giving you a heads up. I mean, because Clive Barker is gay. I never knew that shit. Never knew. You know what I'm saying? I mean, back then it was like kind of like you just did your thing. It wasn't like, hey, I got my name tag of my sexuality on my chest. You know what I'm saying? You have to read it, you know, correctly. You know what I'm saying? You know, back in those days, you didn't have to do that. It was like, hey, you do you. Everybody does each other. Not everybody does each other, but everybody does themselves. You know what I'm saying? Now it's kind of like, hey, you gotta, what's your sexuality? You need to put that tag on your chest, nigga. Put that tag on that chest. We need to, you know, we need to see what your sexuality is. You know, who did you vote for? I was like, who did you vote for, and what is your sexuality? It used to be private, but now it's like, no, I need to know who you voted for and what is your sexuality. You know what I'm saying? Another thing too, Pinhead started off being, I don't know if I finished the statement, but Pinhead started off being somewhat hinted at being a woman, but now, but then, you know, the first movie came out, he was a male, and then after that, he became, you know, they recasted the role for Pinhead to be a female. Let's go ahead and get into my rating. I give this 7 people in the audience with God. So it's audience with God, but it's 7 people in the audience with God. That's what I'm gonna give this. So hey, that is it for Critical Blue Reviews. Check it out. You could find Hellraiser on Hulu. Like, subscribe, leave comments below. Tell me what you feel about this movie. Let me know what you felt. I thought it was cool. I liked it. I wish it was a series. We can learn more about these characters, because some people felt like, hey, these characters are kind of like, you know, talking heads, or, you know, they didn't really have any real personalities. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. But that is it. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, when you can get the next video. And I'm about to keep it pushing. All right.